I just want to take the time to say thank you for coming to the PLC this afternoon. Today we're going to be looking at the action research that I have done for the EDOL 647. And so, to get started, my action research topic is social emotional interventions impacting school readiness for kindergarten students. The purpose of this study is to look how implementation of social emotional interventions programs in Head Start can benefit students for school readiness entering into kindergarten. The three questions we will be looking at will be, does implementing a social emotional intervention affect school readiness? 2, do students gain more skills academically in the classroom that implements a social emotional program? 3, what types of program could a Head Start program use to help with the social emotional interventions for school readiness? Some of the questions or the terms in the research that might be used will be conscious discipline, and this will be something that one of the classroom uses. Conscious discipline is an evidence-based model that integrates social emotional learning, discipline, and self-regulation in the classroom so that students spend less time dealing with behaviors and more time teaching important life skills. Another term will be school readiness, a measure of how students are prepared to succeed cognitively, emotionally, and socially in school. And then social emotional intervention, it is tactics used to help improve social emotional behaviors in children. For my 3 articles that I used to support my data, one was the social and emotional learning in kindergarten classroom. The positive outcomes have been shown in the interaction of social and emotional learning in schools. There has, however, been a little research conducted in kindergarten classrooms. The study that from this article examined the effects of the Start Strong lessons in kindergarten. The results were the gains in students' pro-social behaviors, effective program implementation decreasing and behaviors in children, and understanding the negative social and emotional behaviors of children can impact current academics and lead to long-term outcomes. The next article that helped support this action research was a study that investigated effectiveness on a 6-month early childhood mental health consultation model on emotional support for children. The results were 445 teachers and 158 children were in a child care center, found that the program was improved by their interactions with the children and their care. The study demonstrated that mental health consultants can partner successfully with early childhood providers. This support enhances social emotional competence and school readiness. And then also the article supported the program built confidence, friendliness, attentiveness, good language skills, and ability to form meaningful relationships. The third article that helps support this data would be there's an increased focus on school readiness in supporting children during preschool years and beyond. Young children need to be successful as they transition to school. This article helped with children should be able to develop positive social relationships, concrete on challenging tasks, effective communication, their emotions with others, problem solving in many situations. Then it also helped talk about the success for 4 crucial factors would be building positive relationships with children, families, and colleagues, design supportive and engaging environments, teach social and emotional skills, and develop individualized interventions with challenging behaviors, because you all know that in the classroom sometimes behaviors take away from our teaching, so we're going to take a look at that. The way that this research went was I talked with our district, and of course you all know that we have 3 preschool classrooms in our district. All 3 lead teachers had training using conscious discipline during the summer of 2015. One lead teacher took the information back and has utilized the program and used conscious discipline. And then the data that we used was obtained from the 2015-2016 Brigance.
So what is the Brigance?
The Brigance is the screener that we use to see if children entering into kindergarten are ready for school. The Brigance also looks at the social emotional factors. It has a parent interview. It looks at the cognitive skills. There are some math and language and literacy things that it does. So that's where we got this information. And once that information is all compiled, then it goes to the state, and they compare our county with other counties in Kentucky. So we're going to look at all students. So the way that this worked was, of course, in this year, 2015-2016, there was 102 students that were tested at the 3 sites. So in Classroom A, there were 53 students. In Classroom B, there were 38. And then in Classroom C, there were 11 students. So that made up the 102 students. And every student was participating in that. So by our data looking at this, in Classroom A, there was 30% of students that were ready. In Classroom B, there were 42 students. And then in Classroom C, there was 27% of the students ready. Then for not ready, we looked at Classroom A was 69.8% not ready, 57.9% not ready, and then 72.7% not ready in Classroom C. And while we're looking at this data, we are going to be looking at the Head Start. So out of the 53 students, because the Brigance does break down their backgrounds of if they are in a state-funded, a Head Start, a child care, or if they are in the home, or if they're in other. So out of the 53 students in Classroom A, 10 students were classified as Head Start children. In Classroom B, 14 children were classified as Head Start children, and then out of Classroom C, 2 were classified Head Start children. And this graph indicates that. Also, with this graph, we're looking at the ready and not ready. So the blue tells us which one in Classroom A, that out of the 10 that were tested, only 1 student was ready for kindergarten. Out of Classroom B, it was half and half. 7 were ready and 7 were not ready. And out of Classroom C, 0 children were ready and 2 were not ready. When we look at that, that's kind of disturbing to me since I am the preschool teacher, because I want to make sure that these students are successful and school ready. So I went and I asked my Head Start teachers, what were we doing that were different, because we're supposed to all be doing the same thing. But I'm going to back it up a little bit, because when I was talking about the state-funded, Head Start, home, and other, out of the state-funded, out of Classroom A, there was 19. Out of the Head Start, of course, out of Classroom A was 10. Out of home was 10, and other was 26. That would be the 53. And then out of Classroom B, the state-funded was 18 were classified, 14 were classified as Head Start, and then 15 classified as home, and then the other was 12. And then out of Classroom C, the state-funded was 11, Head Start was 2 children, out of the home was 8, and then other was 8. And all that information comes from the background from the Brigance. So I just kind of broke that down for you all to see their classifications. So as I was talking about, we noticed that in Head Start, out of the 10 that were tested out of Classroom A, only 1 was ready. And then out of the Classroom B, there was 14. And then out of Classroom C, there was 2. So my question was, what was one classroom doing, because half of them were ready and half of them were not, that the other 2 classrooms were not doing? So when I was talking with them, their answer was conscious discipline. And of course, I was like, what is conscious discipline? And they informed me that conscious discipline is a social-emotional behavior that helps implement these techniques to help children self-regulate. The teacher told me that when they're teaching, they're not only having to change, the way that they talk to children, but their interactions that they have with the children. There are 4 ways to help set the tone, and that would be that you have to unite with the children, you have to connect, you have to eye contact and touch. And so this teacher was telling me that it took a long time for her to utilize that, but once she started changing the ways, she started seeing difference in the behaviors that were in her classroom, and she no longer had to focus on the behaviors. She was able to teach the children the academic things that they needed to be successful for their school readiness.
Would you consider using conscious discipline?
After the research that I have done with conscious discipline, it does look like it would be effective, because conscious discipline was created by Dr. Becky Bailey, and she went to a school in Florida, and it was a school of low performance on their testing, and so this program was utilized from K through 5th, and so she went in there and started using some techniques on, making sure that they were connecting with the children, and the improvements were amazing. So I would consider using conscious discipline, and my hope is to start using it in my classroom and then build out into the school. So the actions from the research that I have done, that we will be researching more on conscious discipline. We will be tracking the scores from 2016, 2017 when they released. We will be making sure that, the same 3 classrooms, if we're still seeing the difference, if using the social-emotional intervention is helping, or some other ways to help make sure that our students are ready for kindergarten. We will begin presenting the findings to, of course, our PLC groups, which is you all, and then we will be implementing into our classroom. Of course, we've already started doing that a little bit. We will find ways to implement school-wide. So my hope is for us to take this information, talk about what conscious discipline is, take it back and use it in our classrooms, and then build from there. Because by what I can see from reading on the internet, it's been a great tool for us. So by doing this research and looking at the data from the 2015-2016 Bergant scores, social emotional interventions are vital to use in the program, because if you all saw that one teacher in the district used the conscious discipline, the social emotional intervention, and half of her students were ready. And you have to realize with Head Start, we're reaching those low children who need that extra support. So for 7 out of 14 to be ready for school readiness, that is amazing, because they come to these teachers very, very, very low. And if they didn't have that, just imagine what they would have come to kindergarten. So it is very successful. I also learned that using the social emotional conscious discipline can be helpful in the classroom. I'm starting to use techniques that I have looked up and I have talked to the teacher with. Also, I'm noticing a difference in my attitude with my difficult students, because of course we all know that behaviors do happen, but I'm learning how to deal with it and use those as teaching moments. Students are making an attempt to meet my expectations because they like the feedback that that's coming back from me. So when I do notice, not that I'm noticing that a child is acting out, I'm actually noticing the students that are staying on topic and doing what they're supposed to be doing. So does anyone have any questions? All right. Well, I appreciate you all taking the time this afternoon for I know it's a little different from our PLC meetings, but just kind of looking at the data that I have collected from our district, and hopefully we can get this started with using conscious discipline in our school. Thank you.